and welcome to Women Economic Forum 2016. Now we are about to start our session. So our topic is reinventing yourself. So it will be presented by Miss Mahima Anand. So please, ma'am, come forward and.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I am so surprised that you're here early in the morning. Thank you for coming. Um, okay, reinventing yourself. This word has meant a lot for me ever since I was born, because we are all born with a given. We are born with certain things which are unchangeable to a family, um, to our parents, the way we look, what we do with ourselves over time, um, what's our family background. These are givens and these are unchangeable. But what do we do with them? What do we do with the situations or experiences we have in our life is what really makes us, is what really finally creates the product, which is me. So I would like to start from my very childhood. There are a few stories which I'd like to say which were really landmark events in my life. When I was born to an affluent family, a Punjabi family in Delhi, and very good-looking parents. And very good-looking parents. And I was the eldest of the three siblings. And obviously at that time you don't know, but when I see the pictures and the kind of childhood I had, so I kind of fitted, joined the dots. And I was fat, dark, ugly, and they used to put me up on the wall and used to sing Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. And that's why my pet name is Bimty. So, and then my younger brother was born a year later. Fair, good looking, tall, thin. So I knew from childhood that I was being compared. And Punjabi community is a very good looking community. And they're very proud of their looks. So there was comparison. And I used to hear these little talks. Oh, you really? Are you brother and sister? You don't look alike. You don't look the same. So right from that time, I knew in my heart that I had to do something by which I stood out. And I had to do something by which people recognize me or acknowledge me from what I'm inside and not what I look like. So I started really, I was on an overdrive. I was on an overdrive right from my school time. I did multiple things. At school, I was a dancer, a very, very good in studies, debater, table tennis player. I was all over the place, all the time. So it was as if I needed validation for my existence. I needed people to acknowledge that I'm there despite what I look like. And then I grew up, and then obviously in a Punjabi, North Indian community, the moment you turn 21, you get suitors for marriage. And being a business family, I was getting suitors from this rich Punjabi business community. And I was very clear in my head that I am not going to be dolled up being a piece of furniture in somebody's house. So I worked my way up, and without telling my parents, I went and picked up a job while I was a student, picked up a job in, there was this a conference, conference happening in Delhi. So I went and I gave an interview to the Minister of External Affairs because that was Chogam. Chogam was happening in Delhi that time. And I was selected for 3 days. I was put at the airport at the VVIP lounge. I earned good amount of money, bought myself a ticket, and ran away to Australia. And that's where I actually saw life through my own eyes and not through the eyes of my parents or not through the eyes of any elders who were carving me or who were trying to create the daughter they wanted. And I lived there. I kept extending my visa, and I lived there for 2 years. I painted houses. I washed dishes. I worked in bars. I slept with 8 guys in a bunker bed room, and it was it was actually seeing life anew, absolutely anew. And I came back after 2 years, and again, I didn't want to be in Delhi. So I applied for jobs, and I got a job in Bangalore. And as luck would have it, my ex husband found me there, and we got married. Now, another thing which is really a landmark at that point in time was my career, because I really wanted to study. I wanted to study further, and I was a dancer. So I was performing once, and I knew very clearly that I wanted to go abroad. I wanted to study, do my PhD in US and not in India. So I applied, and while performing, I fell on stage, and before I knew, I was in the hospital with colitis. And my dad put a foot down that she's not traveling anywhere. She's going to be here. So for me, it was as if I had to immediately decide then, what do I do with my life? So at the hospital, I was completely a wreck because I knew that all my dreams had come crushing down. So I decided that I'm going to now get up and start doing something which is my second love, that was camera. So I enrolled myself in 2 courses simultaneously. So I used to be away from home from 6 in the morning to 10 at night. I did one course in mass media, another course in computer animation, back to back in 1 year. And in both the courses, fortunately, I got a gold medal. And I got a job, my first job in media in India. So that's how I recarved or reinvented what I wanted to make out of my life. Anyway, I got married, and it turned out to be a completely 19-year long loveless and sexless marriage. And well, I forgot to tell you that when I was 13, I was sexually abused. So also the 19, 20 years of my life after that were a result of what I went through when I was 13, because I also looked like a boy. And I decided to look like a boy because I was scared of touch. I was scared of putting out my body in a certain way which would attract men. So I was like out there, a tomboy, uh, creating a life of my own choice. Anyway, so I had this marriage, and obviously I attracted the man I attracted because I had what I went through at 13. So obviously that kind of man had to appear in my life. So it was a completely loveless marriage of 19 years, but I was blessed with a son. And okay, so that is one part of how I redefined my identity, myself. Then the second part was my profession. I got into the television industry, which was very mainstream television, soaps and serials and drama and all of that. But I knew what I was doing was not really my heart's calling. I was not happy doing that. I was not satiated. I was not stimulated enough intellectually or emotionally or mentally. And I knew I had to do something different. But what? I didn't know. I was flitting and flopping from one place to another, very restless all the time, but I really didn't know what is it that would actually change my life and what would actually give me true happiness. Anyway, they say when you ask, universe gives you. So then I got this film from Columbia TriStar in US on to make a film on Aghoris. Now Aghoris are these Shiv bhakts. They are disciple. They believe in Shiva, and they pray at the cremation ground, and they eat human flesh. They eat flesh of the dead after they are burnt, and that's how they get their salvation. That's how they get their nirvana. So I was asked to make a film. I was asked to make a film on them, and they are usually around the Ganga and at a cremation ghat, which is the biggest in the country. It's a burning ghat in Banaras. I went there with my crew, I was sitting at the cart and I told my crew that we are not shooting tonight, we are only observing. So we sat there all night. We sat there, and after a couple of hours, when all the bodies are burning, the smell and this thing, my crew couldn't stand it. They said we are going back. But I sat there all night, and I saw the sunrise, sitting there. That one night completely changed the course of my life thereafter. It just completely turned around the way I saw life, the way I saw death, the way I understood death, and what I wanted to do with my life. Because I told myself that if death was so close to life, just a line away, then what are we struggling for? Why are we here? What is the purpose of our life? What do we have to fear when death is just across? And in a minute, we just go. So that totally changed my life. Totally. That was the turning point of my life. And I knew from there on, there is no way I'm going back to mainstream television. There is no way I'm following the material or the so-called setting targets, material targets. You need a car, you need a house, you need all of that. No way. I'm just following my heart, and whatever I need for my life will come. Will come. That trust I had, that faith I had. So that was, again, another turning point in my life. So I continued doing that. And of course, it was a difficult route. It was a very, very difficult route. And there were no takers for the kind of films I wanted to make. No takers in India. So I decided at that point in time, this was many years ago, that I'm going to go out and step out into the international market. I had no clue about it. I had no clue that there is any market out there internationally who would want to see films like this. So I started searching, talking to people, and I went to Cannes on my own. And that time I was the sole Indian there, sole Indian at that market. And I remember that when I reached there and I saw this ocean of people all over, I sat there on the stairs with this big hall in front of me, with flooded with people, sitting and crying. I didn't know where to start from. I didn't know how to begin. But then I said, okay, I'm here in a faraway country, and I even got lost, and I didn't speak a word of French, and I was in a bad, 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 bad shape. But I kept going on. And 10 years from there on, every year I went there twice. And that's how I sustained, and that's how I made the films I made. And they're all the kind of films where it gets you thinking as to what is the purpose of your life. What is it that you're looking for? What is it that what is it that word calling or coming home means? So I try and search that within myself, and I try and see that my films inspire people, whoever watch them. So that is something which I've pursued with complete passion, with complete